Hello, welcome back to Mysterious Case. Wishing you a joyful day. Today's case takes us back to an incident that occurred in Fairfield, Ohio, a small town in Butler County, located in the southwest of the state of Ohio, USA, about 20 to 25 miles north of Cincinnati. With a population of over 40,000, it's a peaceful suburban community known for its friendliness and warm, family-oriented atmosphere. The town is near Lake Erie and surrounded by lush green areas, offering a harmonious blend of urban life and nature. Fairfield isn't as bustling as big cities, but it has its own charm thanks to its safe living environment and accessible amenities. Residents here often enjoy community events, local shops, and spacious parks. Its proximity to Cincinnati also allows easy access to the cultural and economic activities of the larger city. Fairfield's economy relies mainly on small businesses and services, creating a comfortably paced lifestyle. Though not a famous destination, Fairfield remains an ideal place for those who cherish the quiet and closeness of a typical American town. Caitlin Markham was a 21-year-old girl living in Fairfield, Ohio. Born on August 16, 1990, she grew up surrounded by the love of her father, Dave Markham, and her mother, Sharma Rader, though her parents later separated. Caitlin had a younger sister named Allie, 4 years her junior, and the two were very close. From a young age, Caitlin displayed a unique personality, cheerful, creative, and always caring for those around her. Friends described her as someone who always lit up the room with her radiant smile and silly jokes. Caitlin's greatest passion was art. As a child, she loved to draw, often wielding a paintbrush with her stylishly messy hair. After graduating from Fairfield High School, she pursued graphic arts at the Art Institute of Ohio in Cincinnati. Outside of school, she worked part-time at David's Bridal, a wedding dress shop, to save money for her future. Caitlin's life seemed to be on an upward trajectory. She was nearing graduation, preparing to celebrate her 22nd birthday in August 2011, and planning to move to Colorado with her fiancé, John Carter. John Carter, 2 years older than Caitlin, was her high school sweetheart. They had known each other for 6 years and had been engaged for 1. John, also a creative soul, worked as a glassblower and lived with his mother just a 5-minute walk from Caitlin's home. The couple was seen as inseparable, always together and seemingly happy. However, behind Caitlin's smile, no one could have predicted the horrific event that was about to unfold, changing everything. On the night of August 13, 2011, Caitlin's peaceful life came to an abrupt end. She vanished mysteriously, leaving her family, friends, and the entire Fairfield community in utter bewilderment. On the night of August 13, 2011, Caitlin Markham was at her home on Dorset Drive in Fairfield with John Carter. According to John, he left her house around midnight, leaving Caitlin to go to bed. They exchanged a few text messages afterward, but by the next morning, things took an unusual turn. John said he sent his usual good morning text, but received no reply. Caitlin's phone went straight to voicemail, which was rare since she always stayed in touch. Worried, John returned to Caitlin's house on August 14. He found her car still parked in the driveway and her dog running around, but there was no sign of Caitlin. The house showed no signs of a break-in. Everything was tidy, except her phone was missing. This alarmed John. By 8 p.m., despite knowing the 24-hour waiting period required to report a missing person, he called 911.
Hi, my name is John Carter. I am calling. I know that you're not supposed to report a missing person before 24 hours, but my fiance is missing. I can't find her anywhere.
Okay, where did you see her last?
I saw her at like 12 o'clock last night. She stays in a house by herself. I'm really nervous. Her car is still there.
Where was she at midnight last night when you left?
She was at her house. She was going to bed. She wasn't going out to do anything, so she would have been in her bed. And I mean, I've been with her for 6 years. She's not deceiving, she doesn't.
Okay, and you guys didn't have an argument or anything?
Not at all. The only thing that's not there is her cell phone, which is positive, but she's not answering it. So, and the Sacred Heart Festival is going on right up the street, and there's a lot of questionable people there, and it just kind of, I'm sorry.
The police arrived to investigate and noticed a few scratches on John's neck. He explained they were from an electric razor, but later said he wasn't sure, though he insisted there was nothing suspicious. By this point, Caitlin's family and friends were growing anxious. She hadn't shown up for her shift at David's bridal, something unprecedented since Caitlin was highly responsible. Her father, Dave, and sister, Ailey, both insisted Caitlin would never leave without saying anything. She's too practical for that. The police launched an investigation, but the initial clues were too scarce to reveal what had happened. Caitlin Markham's disappearance sent shockwaves through the Fairfield community. This was a small town where violent crime was a rarity. Immediately after John alerted the police, family, friends, and neighbors swiftly rallied to search for her. Over 100 people joined the effort, armed with Caitlin's photos and information, splitting into groups to comb through forests, streets, and parks near her home. Even a mounted search team from Texas arrived to assist, scouring remote areas, old railroad tracks, and nearby rivers. Caitlin was a dependable person, always punctual and never one to miss plans. Her absence from David's bridal and lack of contact with anyone convinced people something was terribly wrong. John, visibly distraught, told the press, "Today is her birthday. We should be celebrating, not searching like this." He recounted that the last time he saw Caitlin was at 11:30 p.m. on August 13, when she sent him a photo via text. After that, there was nothing. The police analyzed Caitlin's phone records. Her final text to John was sent at 11:36 p.m., and by 12:06 a.m., her phone went offline, possibly due to a dead battery or a removed SIM card. There were no signs of a break-in or struggle in the house, only her strange absence and the missing phone. The initial investigation found no clear evidence of a crime, leaving the police puzzled. They interviewed John thoroughly, but he wasn't considered a suspect at that point. Caitlin's family relentlessly pleaded through the media. Her father, Dave, said, "She's optimistic, with clear plans. She'd never just leave." The community held prayer vigils, handed out flyers, and hung banners. But as days passed, hope of finding Caitlin alive began to fade. The mystery and questions surrounding the disappearance of this art-loving young woman only grew. As the search for Caitlin Markham yielded no results, suspicion began to turn toward John Carter, the last person to see her alive. The police noticed inconsistencies in his story. Though John claimed he and Caitlin didn't argue on the night of August 13th, the scratches on his neck raised questions. He said they were from shaving, but his vague explanation fueled doubts. Still, with no concrete evidence, he was considered cooperative, even allowing a search of his home. But then other stories began to surface. A friend of Caitlin's revealed that she had been unhappy in her relationship with John for the past 6 months. Caitlin had confided about feeling trapped, frustrated by John's heavy drug use and pornography habits. She said she no longer felt close to him, even finding his odd sexual demands and possessiveness unsettling. She also disliked how much John's mother interfered, like pressuring her to get a joint credit card. Once at GE Credit Union, John's mother jokingly said she'd co-sign the card if Caitlin took John to Colorado, but Caitlin stayed silent, looking sad. Another witness who was with John and Caitlin that night said John was smoking marijuana and discussing moving plans. Caitlin sat on the couch working on her laptop, appearing distant and lacking her usual vibrance. The witness left at 10:45 p.m., leaving the two alone. He didn't recall seeing scratches on John's neck but hadn't paid close attention. This witness took a polygraph test and was confirmed to be truthful. Caitlin's family dismissed the idea that she ran away due to pressure. Dave insisted, "She's a problem solver, not a runaway. She'd speak up if something was wrong." But these revelations raised questions. Did Caitlin want to end the relationship? And if so, what happened after the door closed that night? The investigation into Caitlin Markham's disappearance reached a standstill. The police found no signs of a struggle in her home, there were no clear witnesses, and the phone that vanished with her remained a mystery. A small detail emerged. 2 teenagers reported seeing 2 cars leave the area near Caitlin's house late on August 13th with their headlights off. But this information was too vague to trace any leads. Fairfield grew tense, with residents feeling both anxious and frustrated by the slow progress of the authorities. John Carter remained the focal point of attention. He appeared on television.
I keep believing that if she is somewhere in the worst case scenario, that she fights her way out. I keep wanting to believe that because she's strong. I know she's strong. So she's got to manage to make her way out.
But some found it odd that he inadvertently spoke of her in the past tense just days after her disappearance. This sparked suspicion, though he consistently maintained, "I would never hurt Caitlin, no way." The community began to divide. Some believed John was innocent, while others whispered that he knew more than he was letting on. As time passed, the case gradually went cold. Caitlin's family refused to give up, repeatedly appearing in the media and pleading for information. Dave, her father, said in anguish, "I just want my girl home, even if it's the worst-case scenario." They offered rewards and held memorial events, but no breakthroughs came. In 2012, another suspect emerged, Gerald Pritchett, a neighbor of Caitlin's, who had been accused of sexually assaulting a student. The police investigated him, but found no link to Caitlin's case, and he was ruled out as a suspect. On April 7, 2013, a scavenger in Cedar Grove, Indiana, stumbled upon human bones near Big Cedar Road Creek. He recalled, "I picked it up and saw it didn't look like animal bones. It had teeth, shaped like a human jaw." Nearby, a plastic bag containing a skull was found, along with a few other bone fragments scattered in the debris. Through dental records, the police confirmed it was Caitlin Markham. The news hit her family like a thunderbolt. Their faint hope that she was still alive vanished entirely. Forensic analysis was challenging because the body had fully decomposed, leaving only bones. A V-shaped cut on her left wrist bone suggested she had been attacked with a sharp object, but it wasn't enough to determine the cause of death. The skull in the plastic bag showed no decomposition inside, meaning her head had been placed in it after decomposing elsewhere. This indicated the body had been moved at least once before being dumped there. Still, how she died couldn't be pinpointed. The location where Caitlin was found, 30 miles from her home, was near a farm once owned by John Carter's family, reigniting suspicion about him. Yet no phone or physical evidence was found nearby to directly connect him. The family held Caitlin's funeral in August 2013 at Fairfield High School. Attendees wore bright colors and displayed her artwork, honoring a girl who loved art and butterflies. John spoke through tears. "We were supposed to have a life together." Dave, Caitlin's father, felt both relief at finding her and torment from not knowing what happened. He said, "I feel bad for Allie, her little sister. She lost her big sister at just 15. The case now entered a new phase, finding the culprit, but with few clues and so much time passed, would justice ever be served? After Caitlin Markham's remains were discovered, the case continued to stall. The Fairfield police lacked sufficient evidence to charge anyone, leaving her family frustrated. Dave, Caitlin's father, refused to let the matter fade away. In 2015, he pushed for the Butler County Sheriff's Office to take over the investigation, hoping a fresh perspective would shed light on the truth. Dave also hired a private investigator to dig deeper into the case. The investigator interviewed over a dozen people in Caitlin and John's inner circle, requesting polygraph tests from 5 of them. One person failed miserably, raising suspicions, though their identity wasn't revealed. In 2016, the police announced they had a person of interest, but lacked evidence for an arrest. That same year, the documentary Taken Too Soon, the Caitlin Markham story premiered, reigniting public interest. The reward for information rose to $75,000, yet no breakthroughs followed. Then in 2023, things shifted. On February 17th, Jonathan Palmton, John Carter's best friend, was arrested for perjury. Palmton lived near Caitlin and was the first person John called the morning she vanished. Police searched his home and the home of John's mother, where John lived in 2011. Documents revealed Palmton had sworn to a lie in April 2022, though specifics remain confidential. He was charged with perjury, but the case was later dropped and he was released. Attention now zeroed in on John Carter. For 12 years, he had lived a normal life, married, had children, and avoided the media. But the pieces were starting to come together. The 2 cars seen leaving Caitlin's area that night were identified. One belonged to John, the other remained unknown. Both his and Caitlin's phones went offline at the same time late on August 13th. The good morning text he claimed to have sent didn't exist in the records. John took 3 polygraph tests in 2011, 2014, and 2021, all indicating deception. At this point, the case seemed poised for a major turning point. On March 22, 2023, 12 years after Caitlin Markham's disappearance, John Carter was arrested at his workplace. Now 36, married, and a father, he faced 2 murder charges, intentionally causing Caitlin's death between August 13th to 14th, 2011, and causing her death during a violent crime. The evidence against him was largely circumstantial, but sufficient to convince the police. John posted a $1 million bond, was fitted with a GPS monitoring device, and awaited trial. During a search of his mother's home, where he lived in 2011, police uncovered chilling items. They found notes about the case, poems and drawings by John with disturbing content. I love her, but I want to kill her. I slashed her wrist with the key to her heart. Another piece contained similarly haunting themes. They also discovered materials resembling those used to wrap Caitlin's body. These findings painted a picture of a man wrestling with thoughts of killing his fiancée. Multiple witnesses described John's aggressive nature. A video showed him yelling in his current wife's face while she held their child, intensifying doubts about his true character. Neighbors of Caitlin recalled hearing arguing and the word no repeated from her house on the night of August 13. Though John denied all charges, calling the evidence circumstantial, his cold demeanor under questioning led police to believe he was hiding something. Dave, Caitlin's father, had long suspected John. He remembered John hugging him and crying at the funeral, joining the search for Caitlin, but now felt it was all an act. John claimed he panicked after accidentally killing Caitlin during an argument and dumped her body at Big Cedar Road, a place he knew well from his family's farm. Yet he offered no clear explanation of what happened, leaving Caitlin's family in a mix of anger and grief. In June 2024, John Carter's case entered the trial phase. Over 50 witnesses were summoned, but before the formal trial began, John abruptly changed his plea. Instead of pleading guilty to murder, he admitted to involuntary manslaughter, a far lesser charge. He confessed to causing Caitlin's death unintentionally during an argument on the night of August 13, 2011. His lawyer pursued this strategy to avoid a harsher sentence, and surprisingly, the court accepted it. On July 18, 2023, John was sentenced to 3 years in prison, the maximum for third-degree manslaughter under Ohio law, followed by 3 years of probation. At the hearing, he stood silently, showing no remorse. When asked for details about what happened, he only muttered, "I can't." A fellow inmate had once told police that John confessed to strangling Caitlin during a fight and then, in a panic, cutting her wrist to stage a suicide. But John didn't confirm this in court. Caitlin's family was devastated by the verdict. Dave said, "I knew it was him from the start, but 3 years. What kind of justice is that?" He lived free for 12 years, deceiving us all. He was furious that John offered no clear explanation, leaving them with unanswered questions. The Fairfield community shared their outrage. A talented young woman with big dreams had her life stolen. Yet the perpetrator received just 3 years, a sentence far too brief compared to the 13 years of pain Dave's family endured awaiting justice. Police suspected a second person may have helped John dispose of the body, possibly even dismembering it, but lacked evidence to prove it. Jonathan Palmton, despite his earlier arrest for perjury, was released and faced no further charges. The case closed with an unsatisfying resolution. The culprit punished with a 3-year sentence. But the full truth of that fateful night remained shrouded in darkness. After John Carter's sentencing, Caitlin Markham's family sought some solace amid their grief. Dave, her father, tirelessly worked to ensure the case wouldn't be forgotten. He and the family proposed Caitlin's Law, urging Ohio to amend its laws to impose stricter penalties for manslaughter cases, so other families wouldn't face the same injustice they did. Dave said, "I don't want her to just be a name in a file. She deserves to be remembered." In 2025, the Fairfield community held an event called Butterflies for Caitlin at a park near her home. People wore butterfly-themed clothing, something Caitlin loved, planted trees, and displayed art in her memory. Dave shared, "On the worst days, I see butterflies fluttering around, like she's saying, 'Hi, Dad.'" He remembered Caitlin as a vibrant girl whose future was stolen. He often wondered what she might have achieved in art and her career had she lived. Though John had been convicted, Caitlin's family found no satisfaction in this outcome. Dave admitted, "I still don't know the whole truth. He won't explain, and after 13 years of lies, I don't believe he ever will." Ailey, Caitlin's younger sister, grew up with an unfillable void, once accidentally encountering John in public while he was still free. The pain deepened as they reflected on the 13 years he lived normally, while their family drowned in loss. John Carter is set to be released in 2026, just 3 years after his guilty plea. To many, it feels like a slap in the face of justice. Caitlin, the girl who loved colors and butterflies, left behind a legacy through her artwork and the beautiful memories she inspired. Yet her story also serves as a reminder. Sometimes, even when the culprit is caught, the pain and questions linger forever. Dave concluded, "I think about her every day. True justice never came." Finally, I'd like to express my deepest condolences to Caitlin Markham and her family, hoping she may rest in peace. If you appreciated how we presented this case, please support us with a like, share, and subscribe. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you, and see you in the next episode.